Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Get Dirty Garage, where today I'm going to tackle something I've been putting off as long as I possibly could, because if any of you know me, you know that I absolutely hate ceilings. Hate drywalling them, hate sanding them, hate painting them. Everything's up here and can't feel my arms for a couple of days. But today we're going to tackle the headliner finally. And try and make a one-piece headliner and see if we can't get it shaped and formed to the car using basic heavy things like random bricks and a super secret special sauce. See if we can't get the form just right and put it all together and see what it comes looking like on the other side of that. So we got so much to do, so let's go ahead and let's get dirty. Is this thing on? Yeah. Okay, well, we have finally arrived at the point I've been dreading for a long time, but time to get figuring out what I want to do with headliner. Thought about just going back in with the standard headliner with the bows and stuff, but that's just really gonna not fit with the rest of the customization, I guess, on the interior. So let's try and figure out how to make a one-piece headliner, and I thought about a couple of different options. Fiberglass, which means you got to make a headliner, and then you got to make a mold so that you can make a headliner. So, and that's messy and stuff like that. So, anyways, I'm thinking I can make kind of a halo, if you will, out of metal, so I can form it to the shapes and stuff that I want on the sides and the front and the back, and then use some lighter weight material in the center portion of it. So we'll kind of figure that out as we go along. But anyways, I think the first thing we got to start with is kind of a template. So I'm just going to get out the CAD software here, figure out kind of what we want to do. Get a form that's something like the shape of the car here, and we'll just do kind of some rough cuts to figure out basics. A door opening type thing. And a window opening type thing. And start refining this mess. See if we can't get something that kind of resembles the car. In the front here, I think I can hold that up with like the visor hole, which is right about there. The visors will screw into the sheet metal, so we should be able to get something like that in there, and that'll give us a rough cut. I'm gonna refine the edges of this a little bit and put that template on some sheet metal and do some cutting, and then we can do all that fun bending and grinding and smashing and, you know, basic stuff. So we will pick it up from there. Okay, so I took our CAD model and refined it down with some tape and some additional pieces and stuff like that. Transferred it over to tape so I could get nice and flat on this piece of metal. And at this point, I think just let's go ahead and cut this out. Got some holes pre-drilled. I think they're in the right spot for the visor hole, but use a combination of the power scissor thingies here and the sparkly wheel of terror and see if we can't get this knocked out. So get a start at it at least. Okay, well, I'll get this cleaned up a little bit, and then we'll go start doing some bending and shaping and stuff like that. So we'll pick it up at that point, get this nice and clean. I think I'll knock a bigger hole up there, but we'll see. Go from there. Okay, so starting with a flat piece of metal, I know that you know, this has got to have a curve that comes down, something like that, and kind of a curve that way. So I'm just gonna put a couple of just gentle sweeps in it, I guess, just a little bit at a time, and we will start messing around with it in the car, basically, to try and figure out what's got to happen. But I just know that it's got to have a little bit of a bend this way and a little bit of a bend that way. So we'll start with that. This back corner's got to be quite a bit more. Okay, well, that's just going to get us a little bit of a curve this way, a little bit of a curve that way. So let's go play with that in the car and see see how far off we are. I know we got a lot of bending and forming and grinding and fun stuff to do. So we'll fit that in there and play with it from there. All right. Okay, well, I did something smart and took out all the fragile stuff just to try and keep myself from, you know, making a more work and covered the dash and stuff like that. So, but basically all I'm going to do is just kind of form this a little bit of at a time. Try and get some sort of a shape that works up in there. Got some more to do back here. This front edge, excuse me. A little bit more bow to it. Okay, I'm going to fuss with this a little bit, but you kind of see what I'm after. Trying to get something that has a little bit of stability, you know, front to back, and then we'll figure out side to side and fun stuff like that. But got to go with a little bit lighter weight in the center. So let me play with this a little bit, see what I can come up with. But I think we're pretty close, and I'll smooth out some of these wrinkles and crinkles and stuff like that and see if we can't get edges to fit. I think I can hold it up in place with like the visor mount here, and maybe I'll put a tab back here someplace to screw that in. That way we can keep it up in there while we fuss with it. So we will go from there. Okay, so I got this fitting up in there pretty decent. I got a couple of you know, minor adjustments to make in there, but got to thinking about, you know, these sail panels and so on, and the sail panels from the factory are really ugly. Yeah, and they kind of attach like the headliner did. They glued in there. So I'm thinking, you know, as we're going this far, let's go down, make this whole thing one piece, which means I gotta kind of figure out where these kick panels gotta live to know how far to bring this sail panel down. And now with the seat belt retractor here and seat belt coming, it's got to come through this. I got some modifications. I got to cut out a chunk to go around that seat belt retractor, and then got to cut a relief in here for the belt to come through this side to the outside. So and then I don't know. We're making this up as we go along. So, anyways, let's cut some holes in this old trim and see if we can't get that kind of placed in there, and then we'll figure out, you know, can we bring this down, or what do we got to do in this sail panel area. So that'll be next. Okay, so here's the plan. I'm gonna cut a slot so I can slide the belt through and then cut a hole for that belt to come through. And then on the back side, I gotta cut out kind of a chunk down here for the seat belt retractor and so on. So kind of got it guesstimated in there, but we'll just take a quick chunk out of these. And I'm going to wrap these so, you know, we can sand and clean this stuff up a little bit, but give us a spot to slide that belt through. Well, I'm telling you, 50-year-old plastic smells a lot different than new plastic when you cut into it, so. Get us a good first guess. We'll go stick that in the car, see what kind of damage we've done. So go from there. Okay, so I got this mounted in here. Used the original screw hole up here and had to put another one here because if I use the original one down on the bottom, it goes straight through the belt. So that's not a good thing. But the belt will operate and go down in there. I had to put a couple of spacers behind there because this was pinching down in pinching that belt when I tightened it all the way up. So just ran a couple of screws on either side of the belt and left them a little bit long just so it spaced that out a little bit. But so at this point, went ahead and did a little bit more CAD work, and I think we can make something that'll be a little bit longer than that, but something, you know, in that general vicinity. We'll make that a little bit longer there, and kind of cut that off in there someplace. But I think what I can do is to put this kind of on some metal and see if we can get something that can be used in that general shape, something or other. So I'll do a little bit more refining on that model, but yeah, and we'll throw that together and see what we can come up with and go from there. Okay, so I got my chunk cut out. Let's put some just real basic shape into this so that we can kind of do a test fit. See where we come out here. Okay, what do I do with my marker? So it's got to come that direction. It's got to come that direction. And this has got to be rounder. And I'm just gonna, for the time being, just kind of use some tin snips here and get our concept solidified. See if we can't get something that resembles the shape of the car here. Okay, so that's gaining on it. And I think what I can do is kind of wrap this front edge a little bit. This sticks out a little bit, and it's not going to be just a flat piece in there. Just do some more bendifying here. Gotta go in opposite direction, so. Okay, that's getting us kind of close. I'm gonna play with this front edge here a little bit. See what I can come up with. I'm gonna end up trying maybe wrap that whole front edge around, something like that. Yeah, it might work. It's got to come back a ways, but yeah, I think we're close to kind of marking where that door opening is on the back. That way I know kind of how to form that up, but then I think I can just take those two pieces, put that seam in there, and we should be in pretty good shape. So I'm gonna fuss with this a little bit and do a little bit more trimming. I gotta take just a tiny notch out up here. But I think you get the general idea what we're heading for here. And then we'll make a hole where that seat belt mount is, because this will mount up on the outside here. Kind of, I think that, yeah, that was good. But I think that will give us kind of that much more modern look of kind of a one-piece headliner, at least more customified. So, okay, well, I'm gonna dink around with this and see if we can't put a few more bends and wrinkles and crinkles in it, and see what we can come up with for a fit. So we will go from there. Okay, so I got this piece kind of conforming this way. I did a little wrap on the bottom, you know, a couple inches there, just to kind of give it some form of, I don't know, clippage, whatever. And then I put a screw in the bottom here that'll be like behind the seat belt, so that'll be hidden because I pulled this screw out up here and just got this top piece clamped in. So I think at this point I'm ready to just tack these two together real quick, just one on either end, and then I'll pull this whole thing out and then try and get a nice seam between the two. That way this will be just one piece. So let's just do a quick zap. Try my best not to weld it to the car. Okay, I think that will give us one complete panel. I got to do some matching on this curve up here. So let's pull this whole thing out and then take it over to the vise and see if we can't get this transition kind of smooth here. So I think, you know, with a little bit of body work, that should come out okay, and obviously it's going to be wrapped and so on, but that'll give some good structure in there. So I'm thinking that's the plan. So we'll go from there. By the way, you know, turns out my kids will just refuse to eat leftover hot dogs. So my wife said, just throw them away. So I did. Now I'm not sure what to do with all the hot dogs. Okay, well, let's get some work done. Okay, so here it is in the car. I do have that back corner clamped up until we can figure out, how to hold everything up in place, but kind of does what I'm thinking it should. Got some, form to it, both front to back and then side to side, so hopefully that will be able to finish out good. And let me show you real quick. Okay, here's how it's gonna meet to the windshield. It's just kind of flush with the channel there. And then around the sides got pretty even gaps, so once that's wrapped, I think that should be in pretty good shape. And a little bit of form and so on back in there. So got some cleaning up to do and some body work to do eventually, but now I just got to rinse and repeat on the other side, and then we can see what we can do about, maybe a front piece and a rear piece. So we'll go from there. Okay, so I got both sides in and fitting, I think, the way I envisioned or something like that. And no, I really don't have any clue whether or not this will actually come out of here as one piece with this kind of a thing in there. I guess my other option is to cut off this panel and then make that all one, make the headliner all one piece. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll put it together and see what happens. But I went ahead and cut out a piece 4-inch wide, just a straight strip for this back portion, and put a little bit of a bend in it and just to give it a little bit of strength, and got it clamped up in there. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get these ends tacked together, and that way we'll have a start on that, and then we can figure out kind of that crossbar in the front next or last or something like that. So anyways, that's what the status is. Let me get these things tacked together and we will go from there. Okay, so I put that front windshield opening in my fancy dancy CAD program, and came up with this. So I know that this has got to kind of roll up to the windshield, so I'm going to just try and take this a little bit at a time and just put that roll in it. And that'll also give it some crosscar strength. Kind of what I did in that rear piece as well, but not nearly as drastic. That back glass is really flat, and it'll meet it just fine. So just going to work this over, and we'll kind of fit it to the car and see what adjustments need to be made. Once we get kind of a fit going, then I can do a little bit of hammer and dolly on the whole thing and smooth some of this stuff out. But I think you kind of get the idea where we're headed with that, trying to close out to the windshield. Okay, well, let's go try that on the car a little bit. I think we've got to probably bend a little bit more, but that'll give us a starting point. So we'll go from there. Okay, first wing at this. Actually not too bad. Gotta do a little bit of a, what you call it, this direction. So we'll just gentle nudge in some of this. Got a little kink there in the middle. Oop, guess I was over nudging. Let me straighten out my kink. Okay, a little straighter. Okay, I think that'll get us a jumping off point. Let me see if I can get a couple of clamps on this, and that way kind of figure out that front edge and where it's got to live and so on. So let me do that, and we'll pick it up at that point. Okay, so I got this front part tacked in, and I did get the back tacked together. So here's what I'm looking at, and I think that's pretty close to, I think, what I'm going to try and accomplish here. And I'm going to actually probably just do a lap weld on this rather than try and butt it and get everything absolutely perfect up in the car. So I'm going to just tack that together, and then we can see if this whole mess actually comes out as one piece. So cross your fingers. All right, so I got that front crossbar and the back crossbar tacked in there. So now the moment we've all been waiting for, moment of truth at least. Let's see if we can actually get this thing out in one piece. This other side here. Okay, well, it should be free. One-man job, I guess, but it will go in and out. So I think we'll call that some success for now. I'm going to go ahead and try and stitch all of this stuff together, all these seams that I got going on, and that way we can get it cleaned up a little bit and then figure out kind of this sunroof part. So we'll go from there. Okay, Now that we got kind of that halo, form, pretty much together, and it actually will come in and out of the car. Time to think about that center section, and I need kind of a form that goes in different directions, curves and stuff like that. Got to thinking about how to make that. I could do it fiberglass. I even thought about heating up some plexiglass or whatever, but I'm going to take the cheap and easy way out. Remember the hardboard that we had made that little surround for the console. I'm going to use some of that and try and get some shape and form into that. And to do that, you need a very specialized, highly top secret formula. This is 23 parts of water and 7.5 parts of H2O, and then 2 dashes of rose water. Make it smell good. So you just need some water. So what I'm going to do is kind of soak down this, soak down the back side of this. Doesn't have to be like super wet. You don't want everything to run through to the smooth side. But if you get this stuff wet and hold it in a shape and let it dry out, it will retain that shape, according to the interweb. So, yeah, saw it there, must be true. But anyways, I've formed stuff like this in the past, and hopefully this will give us something to fill up that center section and keep those curves without putting any tension on the halo. So we'll get this soaking, and I'll show you how I'm going to try and form that. And then what you basically end up having to do is, soak it down, clamp it into place, and then let it dry out, come back a couple hours, soak it down again, clamp it down. So anyways, let's put this on our form, and that way we can start getting this process going while we clean up the rest of that stuff. So we'll go from there. Okay, so here is our form. It's got curves going in the right directions and so on. So I think what we can do is to just kind of put this in place here. Excuse me. And then, add clamps. So just going to take some time and some patience trying to get this to settle into a curve and a form. So I'm gonna set my clamps all the way around, kind of on the edges, and let that drape over. And then we'll see what it looks like in a few hours. And then we'll hose it down again and repeat. So that's going to be a bit of a process, as you can imagine, but I think over time we'll get kind of where we want to go. So that's the plan. So we're going to let that cook for a while, and then come back, do it again, come back, do it again, come back, do it again, and see how far we get to where we want to be. So we'll pick it up from there. Okay, so it's a couple of days later, and be honest with you, this is the second time I did this because I overcooked the first one. I had too much of a bubble in it in both directions. Really not, and when I kind of tried it on the headliner halo thing. Looked like it was kind of inflated. So I backed off a little bit on clamping and so on, and I got just a gentle curve in both directions, so that I think we can get the headliner to fit. So what I want to do is put this onto here and get kind of a point of reference, and then I put a piece of tape across there just to make sure that it didn't spread out in the back. But I think what I'm going to do is just kind of mark out where this is, where it hits there anyways, and then I'll cut it out just a little bit bigger, and that way you got some flange, I guess, to attach to. But I think, you know, once we bring that up together, it gives just a gentle hint in both directions. So I think that's what we're after, and we'll see if we can't get this cut out and then figure out kind of how it lays on the form here. So that's what's next. Okay, well, here's what she looks like. I mean, subtle curve in both directions, got it clamped in place. And I think for the time being, I'm gonna just put a couple of screws in this to hold this piece in, and then we'll fit it in the car, I think. So I'm just gonna put some self-tappers, I think, just temporarily to hold stuff together. And I think I'll probably put them in from the back side, I would imagine. Just to make sure that they don't pull through this hardboard stuffage. Okay, well, I think that gives us basically the shape and the form. It's a lot stiffer now, so I'm going to pull this tape off of here real quick. All real flopping around, so that's good. And I think what I'll do for a final check is let's put this in the car and take a look and see, make sure everything's still fitting and so on, and it's all one piece, and we will pick it up from there. Okay, for this test fit in the car, just gonna kind of put it up in there, make sure everything still works and fits like it's supposed to. Probably notice I actually put a little bit of primer on the back side of the halo here, just because nobody wants a rusty headliner, you know. So it's a bit of an interesting one-man job, but in order to make this easier, I'm just going to use a couple of straps some old I don't know what you call these, ratchet straps, I guess, but just kind of loop it around here. And what you really need to do is get a pair of vice grips. Get it started up in there. And just kind of clamp the straps together temporarily. So we'll get this finagled up into place and see what it actually looks like in the beast here. This is a lot easier than trying to hold it up and put screws in places that they're not supposed to be. Okay, we'll get at least this up into place. And you can just work back and forth, I guess, on side to side until we get it kind of where we think it's supposed to be. Okay, I'm going to throw a couple of screws in this, and then let's take a look around and see how the fitment still is. So we will go from there. Okay, so everything's up in place. I think actually the curves look pretty decent. One thing I don't like is this back's just a little bit floppy. So I may try and figure out a little bit of reinforcement back there, because I don't want that to create an issue. But everything seems to fit okay still around the door openings, and then across the front. So no major traumas there. And around the back glass seems to be okay. So should have a pretty decent gap there. Just worried about that flopping a little bit. So we'll put a little reinforcement in there somehow, and then figure it out from there. So think it's time at this point to attach the wood to the metal permanently and be able to start the 16 to 18 days of body work of smoothing this thing out. So lots of fun yet to come. We'll go from there. Okay, so in order to fasten this permanently, I did put a bead of our panel adhesive around there and put the screws in it and so on. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take up all these little gaps along the perimeter and so on, because just a little bit uneven. So I'm going to go ahead and rivet this together in about a half a bazillion spots. Try and get it nice and smooth. Went ahead and for the back side, so it doesn't pull through the hardboard, I made a bunch of these little coin jobbies with just holes in them, but took some old strips, drilled some holes, snipped them up with tin snips. So I think that should work. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. A couple of spots here. And see if we can't get everything drawn together real nice. Okay, I think that will work. That way I can pull those screws out from the back side after I get all this riveted together. But that's going to give us a nice tight bond all the way around and draw in some of these spots that are just a bit wavy. So I'm going to continue on around with these rivets, and then once we get all those in, we'll let this dry, and then we can start the body work process. So yeah, I think that'll work, and those will be not very proud, so should be in good shape. We will pick it up from there. Okay, so I got this all riveted together and kind of ready to go. I think everything's all set up now. It's a little bit later, but I'm going to spend the next couple of days doing basically nothing but this, just trying to smooth out all these edges and lumps and bumps, and putting on some filler and sanding it all off. And I'm going to try and keep it thin enough where, you know, it remains flexible enough that it's not going to crack, and fun stuff like that, because it still needs to be able to vibrate as it goes down the road or whatever. But anyways, you guys have seen me do this a couple of different times, so I'm going to spare you all the sitting through and anxious anticipation of what it's going to look like, and we'll go ahead and skip through all that fun stuff. But just suffice it to say that I'm going to spend a whole bunch of time doing nothing but this, so not really exciting content, I guess. So anyways, we will catch up on the other side of that, and then we will take a look and see how everything looks at that point. So we'll just go from there. Okay, well, got this smoothed out. I think curves look good, and you know, I'd like to say that it wasn't as bad as I thought, and just took a few hours to get this looking, I think, reasonable. You honestly, you have no idea how much I'd like to say that, but I can't. It was just as dirty and tedious as I thought it was going to be. So, but anyways, a couple of days and several quite epic hand cramps later, got it to this point, and I think right now I just want to put this in the car, see if everything still fits and you know how things are. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up and clean up kind of my mess around here, and then we'll try it in the car, see what it looks like. So we'll go from there. All right, so it's in the car. I went ahead and put the seatbelt contraptions on as well, make sure those holes lined up. But I think actually everything looks pretty decent. Gaps and so on are still good, and curves look pretty decent, and around the windows and all that fun stuff looks fairly flush, kind of straight across the back. So it closes out what we need to close out. But one thing I didn't think of is this top corner up here. This pillar trim is no longer going to fit properly. So guess what we get to do next? Figure that one out. So we will strip this down and see what we can come up with and go from there. Okay, so taking a wild stab at what I gotta do. I mean, that headliner, instead of like just a layer of fabric, comes down and makes a swoop. So I don't really have room for this bend in there. So I'm thinking right around here-ish. I gotta like flatten this out, and then this side obviously has got to be flatter as well, because that used to clip up around the I don't know, the thingy. So, but I'm going to start by just taking a guess at some of this stuff. Try to work this a little bit. See what we can come up with. Let's do a little bit of straightening first and then bending after that. Definitely going to have to do some body work after I beat this thing senseless, so. Okay, I'm going to go kind of play with that in the car. Like I said, just got a lot of manipulation to do to try and get this to kind of fit to where it's at. So go play with that in a little bit. Just take a pair of pliers and try and manipulate it around and see what kind of shape we can come up with. So we will go from there. Okay, so after beating on it and grinding on it and bending it and smashing it, and got something that I think will work. I mean, obviously after we get wrapped on the headliner and then wrapped on this, close up any gaps we got. So I think that will suffice. Gotta smooth that out with some body work and so on. But also going down here, I went ahead and threw in some kick panels and so on, and need some sort of a closeout there. So I'm thinking I can do just a little, little widget like that, kind of close off the end, and that way kind of can get a closeout to the kick panel at the same time with the same panel. So I have to bring this down a little bit and then kind of finish off the end of that. So well, we'll play with that a little bit and see what we can come up with. Okay, well here's what I did. I just took that little piece and kind of put a slit in the end and folded the end over and welded it up to a little bullet point or whatever. So I'm gonna just tack that to this piece, and then that should give us a closeout to that kick panel. So I think it's just going to take a couple of quick tacks, and I mean, it doesn't have to be too structural or anything. So that should hold it fine. And then when we wrap that, we'll just kind of smooth that inside edge off. Okay, well I think that actually should close out around the kick panel good, and that way, I mean, we'll wrap all of that all at the same time. So let's go fit that in the car and take a look. Okay, so I think that once it's wrapped, I think it will close out that kick panel good. I mean, we've got kind of closing out to everything here. We'll do a little bit of futzing around and trying to fill a couple little tiny gaps in there, but I think for the most part it's fitting at the bottom, fitting at the top, good enough. Time to do a bunch of body work to this stuff, and then we'll get to wrapping. So, oh boy, we will pick it up from there. All right, well, got these pillars rewrapped, and I think that fits pretty decent around that kick panel trim and up to the top. So I think any other gaps and so on will probably be taken up by the material on the headliner. So got both sides in, and I think we are ready to pull this whole mess out and now try and cover this headliner. So that'll be next. Okay, well, it's finally time to cover this with fabric. And so what I got was some genuine fake Alcantara, which is fake suede, so kind of a double fake, both directions. But it's at least priced so that a real person can afford it instead of Alcantara, which for some reason is a bazillion dollars a yard. So got all this sprayed up with some with the special adhesive that we got from the van down by the river, and as kind of a precaution, because this stuff is foam backed, I'm gonna kind of lay out just some wax paper here, just in order for this not to stick as soon as I lay it down. And then I'm going to be able to pull this out, theoretically, you know, a strip at a time as we lay, so we get that fabric kind of in position and smoothed out and so on. So, because working with a piece this big, you know, being by myself and don't have 32 people in every corner to hold it like you see on the fancy TV shows. So I'm going to try this. Worst that could happen is that it's an epic fail, but we are used to that at this point. But once this stuff is tacked up, wax paper doesn't really stick to hardly anything. So should allow us to get a little bit of flexibility in how we get this stuff to lay down. So that's the thought anyways. So we'll get this laid out, and then go grab our double faked material. Okay, well, I think that'll be good enough to see if this actually works or not. So let me go grab the material and okay, well, hopefully this should land somewhere around center. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to slide out. And this is not like vinyl or leather or anything. You don't want to stretch this stuff too much just because of the foam backing on it, because then it can kind of get distorted and so on. So that gives us a start here. We'll go up one side. Thankfully, we don't have tons and tons of curves in this to have to stretch it too hard. to lay down okay. Alright, I think that wax paper trick was just successful enough. Now we'll get to some trimming here. Okay, well, I think that was quite successful. Now, just got to make sure I got all the edges glued and trimmed, and then got to make sure we got access to a couple of the mounting holes up front and then the side. But from that point, I think we can stick this in the car and take a look and see what it'll look like. So we have a headliner. Okay, well, we got this covered and got the holes and so on, I think, where they should be. So let's go ahead and try and actually install this in the car. We'll use our little strap trick again. Try and get that up in place without having to monkey around with it too much on either side. And I did go ahead and cover those B-pillar trims. So those actually have vinyl on them now. Get started about there. And hopefully we won't do too much damage to anything as we get this in, or none at all, or something. pick it up a touch at a time and figure this out. Well, I think we're close enough to try and figure out a couple of mounting screws, maybe. Finagling on the other side here. Okay, well, we have it temporarily up there. I'm going to go ahead and try and get the rest of this trim and everything in, and then we will come back and take a look. Go from there. Okay, well, here's the final product installed. I put the front corners in with the actual visor brackets that I had sandblasted and painted a little bit matte black. But I think with all the trim in place, seat belts, the form looks good and kind of matches up to this pretty decent, so I think that closes things out pretty well. Kind of hard to see since it's really black, but then it just kind of grabs that edge just a little bit there, but everything is kind of filled up around the edge on that. Pillar trims look pretty good. And then like along the front edge and so on, should fit to the windshield pretty good, but I'm pretty pleased with the way that that came out, even though I hate ceilings. So anyways, one-piece headliner installed. Awesome. On to the next asbestos thing. Well, listen guys, I think that's going to do it for this edition of Let's Get Dirty Garage. Got a big thing out of the way, and kind of pleased with the way it comes out. So I think that gives us a custom interior look. So, you know, custom is always good, especially when you've messed it up as bad as I have at this point. So, but anyways, hey, listen, I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for coming along for the ride. If you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, tell a friend, tell an enemy. It doesn't really matter. But and by the way, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the headliner or the interior so far, or anything that you choose to comment about. So love reading them, love getting interaction with you guys. If you got any questions, my email's in the YouTube channel thing setting. I don't know, you can find it in there. But got questions, we can try and answer them. But yeah, I think we are good to go. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks a bunch for watching. Thanks for getting dirty with me today. Take care. We'll see you next time.